What up, everybody? It's Dominic D'Angelo of adfreeshows.com, SEScoops.com, and OneTrueSportTV.com. But I'm here. Rumor and Innuendo. Robert is still on assignment, still being the lawman that he is, laying down the law, giving you a verdict, all that stuff, all that legal terminology, legalese. Well, let's talk a little wrestling-ese, huh? A little bit of kayfabe, or no, Carney. Let's speak some Carney, huh? But first, want to give some shout-outs to some folks. Wrestling Old Head, good morning, R&I. Dom and Robert, do not be fooled. Tonight's AEW Dynamite will not feature a Rick and Morty crossover. It will indeed just be Rick against Mortos. How about that? Wow, how about that? Man, that's a great one. Nice job there, Wrestling Old Head. Travis Warlow says they'll both involve a drooling white-haired man with an alcohol problem, though. Oh my goodness, heavy. All Jake says, good morning. Chef Michaels is cooking down at the PC. Yes, indeed he is. We're going to talk about that a little bit. Wrestling Blood says, very true. I turned myself into a pickle. And Jennifer V, who I do not know, says, happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday, Jennifer V. Appreciate you tuning in. I know you're a big wrestling fan, I bet. So let's talk a little bit about went down last night on NXT. Now, I'll be forthright. Did not watch it at all, really, but I did see the CM Punk clip, his little exchange with Roxanne Perez. And this, right now, Punk with Roxanne Perez in this environment really displays why pro wrestling is so good right now. And I'll give you a couple reasons why. CM Punk, obviously, big star. The fact that he was just on Raw, cutting an intense promo against Drew McIntyre, and then was able to change the tone and go to NXT and in turn really elevate that product and the stars that they have on that show makes it something very special, I think, and really adds to, hey, WWE's been called the universe to nauseum kind of thing. Well, the funny thing is like they're kind of getting away from that terminology a lot, it seems, but they really do have a universe going on right now, do they not? It's the neat thing about it. There's all these added elements coming in, and Punk is one of them here. And so him coming out, and I know he's going to be the guest referee for Ethan Page and Trick Williams here on the premiere CW show for NXT. But on top of that, he comes out and puts a lot of talent over, like just names people, like ones that you kind of know he has appreciation for and respect for. And he puts the fans over too in a big way. Like, how special would it feel to be one of those fans that was like, hey, I was one of those fans that noted that CM Punk was peeking in and kind of creeping on and trying to see what notes observations he can have during the show. And he calls me out. It had to be a really neat feeling for those fans, and then it connects them. And Punk has been more of this, in this more kind of leaning into the Cody aspect of, hey, let's shake hands and kiss babies kind of thing. But you can tell that he's really enjoying himself and that he really wants to leave a legacy, a positive legacy in pro wrestling and in WWE. And so he'd really made the most of that opportunity last night. Intimate setting, you can tell he really enjoys NXT. You can tell he enjoys the product there. And shouted out guys like Lexus King or Brian Pillman Jr., if you will. Shouted out Carmelo Hayes. Teased future feuds maybe with a Braun Breaker and everything like that. Getting a lot of the talent over. And then, in turn, you have somebody like Roxanne Perez come out and cut a promo. Now, the cool thing about this is I've heard through the grapevine, Roxanne Perez, people have been kind of critical of her heel turn. Is she really is she a good fit? Is she really making things work? I've heard criticisms about that. Well, the neat thing is she came off as a fangirl starting off, like really praising Punk and then praising AJ on top of it and saying how she was more of a fan. And Punk was enjoying it and having a good time. Then she just drops the hammer down on him. I should have been a Drew McIntyre fan. And you're trying to steal the spotlight before Drew takes you out at Hell in a Cell or at Bad Blood for the Hell in a Cell match. And it was really, really well done. And then Punk on top of it was like, praised her still, despite the disparaging remarks, despite her being a Drew McIntyre fan now, despite all that stuff, and said, like, man, I was thinking how great you would be against Bianca Belair and Io Sky on Raw, but it's not going to matter when Julia beat your ass. Good stuff. It helps both talents in the ring, and Punk got Roxanne over, made her feel like such a bigger deal too, and made her feel like more of a heel. And it was just a really well done segment. It's really, I think, what the right note that Shawn Michaels and NXT wants to hit when they have these special people come in. It played a lot into that, I thought. What else did I want to add about that? But yeah, it sets a good tone and elevates the match that already is Roxanne Perez versus Julia coming up. So that'll be very neat to see. And then obviously they had Punk get inserted in the Trick Williams and Ethan Page thing. So his mark was left on there before October 1st. So it was cool to see. It speaks to the passion of Punk, speaks to where his head is at when it comes to what he likes about NXT and maybe his future in WWE after maybe he wanes down his in-ring career. And really, hey, I want to be a part of this. And it's really, really, it's a neat aspect. So really cool segment, I thought. Another cool segment. Last week, Alex Hammerstone made his NXT debut as the enforcer for Tony D'Angelo, my family, and took on Obafemi in a losing effort. But after the fact, I talked about how much star power, star value that Hammerstone has. And, went into detail about the dynasty and MLW, his time in MLW as the world champion and the face of the company and going up against Jacob Fatu for that title and stuff like that. And just the value that he could add to the product and stuff like that. And we see this week that NXT took note of what Hammerstone did on the previous week and brought him back in a match against, my paisan, Tony D'Angelo, who, obviously my worlds are colliding here. My family is battling one of the guys that I admire in the business and everything like that in Hammerstone. But Tony had to walk out, man. And Hammerstone gets the win. But you know what? It speaks to what they think of somebody like Hammerstone. Hey, he was good. Let's bring him back. Let's get him involved a little bit more. So really, really neat to see that. And then it adds to what we've been talking about NXT and making it feel like this almost like a hub for talent to come in and out of, whether that's WWE or whether that's TNA or anything like that. So and then you see Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill kind of like make note, hey, anybody in NXT can challenge us too. We're keeping our eyes peeled on that. So really, even just that little segment that I got to watch was spoke volumes about how NXT wants to be portrayed and the direction that they want to go in with this stuff. So thought that was really, really well done, and get you excited for what's ahead on the plate for WWE, for NXT, and hey, CW. They already have Billy in the CW, but let's get a little NXT in the CW, huh? Let's look at a couple comments here. Hello to Devin, who joined us. Let's see. Wrestling Old Head says, I always thought Roxanne should be what brings AJ Lee back to the WWE, even if it's a one-off. That would be interesting. Certainly shouldn't rule that out, huh? Definitely shouldn't rule that out. Wasn't AJ kind of training in the ring a couple months ago or something like that? Jeroy J says, no idea why Punk is a referee unless it's the start of his learning tree gimmick. Well, I mean, he just adds star power. You want to make it feel like a big deal, and it's on the CW, so you put him in that world title or the NXT title match. It makes just elevates the whole thing. Um, let's see. But yeah, they wanted to give Hammerstone his win back. I would have preferred him beating Tony D, or if you didn't want him to lose, have him run through stacks at a minimum. Maybe we'll see something like that to an effect. But hey, I think it evens out the scales. I think it notes that, hey, yeah, Hammerstone is somebody that is a star for TNA. Maybe could be a star for NXT too down the line. So I think that was a good reaffirming moment that they had. Yeah, you want to. I think that you want to protect your own stars too. But hey, getting Hammer over, I think that speaks volumes to what they think of Hammerstone, and whether that's TNA or NXT or both. So pretty cool stuff. But yeah, thought that was neat. Like I said, didn't watch all of it. Didn't watch NXT at all. But did catch those segments and wanted to make note of that, especially coming off that CM Punk was there and everything to that effect. So pretty darn neat. Pretty neat. So let's preview AEW, why don't we, huh? What do you say? Let's see. So on tap tonight, we have the Young Bucks and Okada going up against Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher and Takeshita. I think I said it right. Takeshita. I think I said it right. Dang it! Why was it? That's such a brain fart. I used to nail it all the time, and now I can't say it. It's in my. It's like a brain fart here. I can't get it out. But yeah, it's the trios match. It seems very paint by numbers, and it's a great match. I'm excited for it. It makes sense, but it's also like this. Oh, almost dropped the mic. This is something that we're AEW's from a booking standpoint is becoming extremely predictable, and not in a way where it's like, oh, I'm excited. Like there's certain aspects where you see, hey, this makes sense, and I could have predicted this, but I'm excited for it, and it's logical. There's certain elements, WWE has predictability and stuff like that. But the thing is they give you a ride to go on. So this happens over the course of weeks, or this happens over the course, of a pay-per-view. Then you jump to the television program, and the story weaves in and out. It weaves in and out, and you get a build to it. With AEW, it's week after week after week after week. It's like, okay, here's a story for a week. Here's what happens next week. Here is another story for a week. So, yeah, like they're building towards Grand Slam here with this. But it's also like, oh yeah, this is something AEW would do. They would do a trios match right after this thing happens. So you get everybody involved. You get Takeshita, you get Okada, now you get the Young Bucks, and you get Ospreay and Fletcher all in a match together. Kind of could have predicted that. Could have predicted it because they've created that in your head of what to do. So, yeah, it's a cool match, but it's also like, hey, yeah, kind of saw this coming. Also, guess what else we saw coming? Ricochet versus the Beast Mortos. And that just happened last week. It's cool to put Ricochet in a showcase match. It's cool, he gets a win, and then, hey, you get a new guy like Beast Mortos coming in and spearing him and, staking his claim. But it's also like, okay, he's here, and now guess what? And that's cool. I like Beast Mortos being up against Ricochet. Don't get me wrong. But guess what's going to happen here? Beast Mortos is going to lose, and then we're not going to see him again. We won't see him. We won't see a follow-up. We won't see a continuing feud or something else that he pivots to. This is all just building to Ricochet. It's Takeshita. Thank you, Takeshita. Alt Jake, helping me out here. Maybe I said it right. I don't even know. But this is just it's in a bubble here. It's in a vacuum. You're only getting this here, and then okay, Beast Mortos gone. Who's next for Ricochet? This is a week-to-week thing. They're just burning candles at both ends here. Not necessarily Gerard J. Predictable isn't bad as long as Triple H does it. Like, this is more so like they tell a story with this. When it comes to WWE, you see this happen over long term. When AEW does it, it's a short term thing. It's like here to here. It's next week to next week. It's even Collision to Dynamite. And that also brings me to the next match. Orange Cassidy versus Chris Jericho. Obviously, they've been building a feud for a while. But if you wanted to continue this feud, if you wanted to get all the intricacies of what they're doing, because we saw on last week's Dynamite was that Orange Cassidy dumped loose change onto Jericho's blue Bentley. And we're like, okay, there you go. But then here, Orange Cassidy gets attacked by Jericho on Collision. And then we move to, hey, we have a match now. So it's very like boilerplate, put it under the heat lamp, like fast food restaurant kind of wrestling here we got going on. While WWE's kind of wine and dining you when it comes to their storytelling. It's like you're getting your fill of people. And then when they go away, when somebody loses this feud, like I'm going to use an example here, like Ilya Dragunov, for example. So he's been going, we're so used to him wrestling Braun Breaker and being in this Intercontinental title mix here, going up against, Jey Uso and Pete Dunne and, there was somebody else in that match. Either way, we're used to seeing Ilya Dragunov in this mix here. Well, okay, he's kind of not factored into the role of all of this. He's not in the Intercontinental title picture. But we still get a little exchange with him on this week's Raw, where there's another added element. You see him going in a different direction, feuding with another heel. So when it comes to AEW, it's just, okay, there's one person we're putting the focus on. Here's somebody that we can line up, whether that's a Lance Archer or Beast Mortos or, hey, I'll touch upon that in a second. But there'll be another person. And then, boom, they're gone. Okay, you did your job. We'll see you later. But let's keep continuing with Ricochet and all that stuff. So it's, yeah, predictable is good when it's logical. Tony hasn't ever been logical. Well, I do agree to an extent. He's like, logic is not very tuned in right now. Now, there's some things that Tony has done a good job with, but it's also in the same aspect of, hey, take us along for a ride here. Don't just give us this quick match that might be intriguing. Like, okay, we saw Beast Mortos spear him. What's been the follow-up with that? We haven't seen Ricochet cut a promo on Beast Mortos. We haven't seen why Beast Mortos' intention was. Granted, he can't talk because he's a bull, but I mean, it's just like have somebody talk for him. Give him a, oh my God, I'll make the joke. Give him a matador to help out, or something like that. It's just take us along for a better ride. You know what I mean? Hey, I ate that Big Mac. I ate those fries. Now I'm hungry again, and I kind of don't feel as good. Whereas, like, WE has wine and dined you with some storylines and stuff. Yeah, sure, it's predictable. Yeah, I've had that steak before, but I want it again because it's so good. Help me out here. There's Dynamite has 4 matches on the card. I've named 3 of them already. So and then we have the other one here, and another example of, hey, let's heat somebody up very quickly, unpredictable, to maybe make it forgettable again. We have Mariah May teaming up with Serena Deeb to go against Queen Amanada and a Joshi wrestler I am not familiar with. When's the last time we seen Serena Deeb? It's been months. She was involved, I think. Didn't she face Mariah May in Jacksonville or something like that? Am I wrong? Either way, she was there and she's gone. It's a Nyla Rose thing too. It's these talents show up. It's helping further some sort of story, but then they're just gone again. There's nobody besides Mariah May. There's nobody besides Ricochet, Will Ospreay, Kyle Fletcher to hitch your wagon to. You want to see everything feel big time, feel like you're going along for this great ride. It's just heat it up, feud. This is just filler to get to the end game here. Whereas WWE, they have, yeah, they have people doing their jobs. Like they have, okay, Bronson Reed's another good example. So Bronson Reed, we were so accustomed to him kind of being almost in that Lance Archer role where he's a big dude, but he's ultimately going to take the loss and get somebody over. Well, the fact is, look at the payoff that ultimately happened with Bronson Reed. He destroys Seth Rollins. He destroys R-Truth. He destroys The Miz. Now he's embedded in a pretty fun feud with Braun Strowman. And, you know, he feels like a big-time deal on Raw now. He's one of the top guys on Raw, right? Like, if you're thinking of Raw right now, you're thinking of several people, but Bronson Reed is one of them. You know what I mean? He's at least in the top 10 of who you're thinking about. And that speaks to the focus that WWE is putting on these stars. Whereas AEW, sure, yes, I've said several times, ever since AEW's really kicked off and fired off, that they have to hone in on select stars and make them feel like a big deal. However, you're not completing your whole foundation when it comes to making your stars lower on the card still feel viable, still feel important, still feel like, hey, if they lose, it feels like something. Or if they end up beating one of those core stars, that's a big deal. They don't do that. It's just moment to moment to moment to moment. Where WWE's done a better job at just taking you along for the ride, to quit saying that phrase again, you know? Let's get a little bit of feedback here. Jeroya J says, you aren't super wrong, but in this particular case, nobody wants Ricochet promoing. Yes, that's true. I do think, though, I would like to see him at least have a shot at it in AEW. How is he gonna? How is it gonna be with the reins kind of off of him, with the spotlight less on him? The WWE structure around him. I want to see him? I want baptism by fire. I want to see him kind of just, hey, let's see what he can do on the mic when he doesn't have that stuff on him. You know, when he doesn't have that WWE shine on him. What kind of Ricochet are we gonna get? In turn, yes, I agree with you, Jeroy J. I think Ricochet would benefit from a cool mouthpiece of some sort, or being paired up with somebody like a Lance Archer and something like that, where they're more of an entity, they're more of a tandem that works together and stuff like that. Where, hey, Lance Archer has his ties to Jake Roberts. In turn, Ricochet has his ties because he's teaming with, or has a buddy in Lance Archer, somebody like that, where it's just like build both guys up at the same time. But yeah, I understand where you're coming from. Wrestling Audit says, that's what I felt AEW do, which was show WWE how they should have used Ricochet like Heyman did with Al Snow, just incredible, etc. Yes, see, we're getting a little bit more of Ricochet, the one that we were getting excited for to be on the main roster of WWE. AEW's been embracing that. This is proving to pretty much be a good fit. It's just, again, what is the attention to detail AEW is going to do with Ricochet when it comes to all the outside the ring elements, when it's, like Jeroy J said, on the microphone, or, you know, as a presentation thing. Jay follows up, I also think stories can take way too long. To use your wine and dine analogy, you're waiting for your table, then waiting for your drinks, then waiting for your food. So there's a medium in there. Yeah, there's certainly a balance. Some things can feel long in the tooth when it comes to certain things. I'm trying to think of a good one that maybe AEW or WWE has done. Like, kind of how this is just off the top of my head, kind of how they use the bloodline in certain ways. Some of that definitely feels kind of long in the tooth. Like, they could have really did some of that stuff up more by preserving Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. You could have, if you protected them a little bit better, I think the bloodline story would have had a little bit more legs and stuff like that. Now you're going into this feud with Cody and Roman. It's kind of like, okay, well, we've seen Solo lose several times already. We've seen Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa just get used for fodder here and there. So yes, there is certainly a balance that you can do, but I'm coming from almost a comic book perspective of how I always love to see the crossovers with, you know, Punisher comes and visits the X-Men, or you see Daredevil team up with Spider-Man, or certain things like that, where it's like people are benefiting from one another. You know, you're seeing everything weave in and out. Yeah, Beast Mortos might lose to Ricochet, but how are they going to follow up on Beast Mortos? What's going to go on? Where instead he's just used to plug in and play. And then okay, we're done. Unplug him. Let's plug somebody else in. So I think AEW creates more of an identity with that and is predictable in regards to what they're going to do. Hey, when are we going to see another eliminator match? I will predict this now. I say next week we'll see an eliminator match. If we don't see one tonight, maybe they will. They haven't announced an eliminator match yet, but I predict at least once every week, every other week, we'll see an eliminator match go down. So, Wrestling Old. Maybe Ricochet isn't good with following the script, but is better off on the cuff. Let him go out there and spit. And if he Leo rushes himself, throw the pre-tape promo on him for a while. Exactly. Magnum TA has put over Ricochet really good and has said how much that he is smart to the business when it comes to from an in-ring perspective even, and like what he's able to do. So he sees a lot of star power in somebody like Ricochet. Put him up against Will Ospreay from a personality and everything like that standpoint. So, you know, I think there might be something we haven't got to see really from Ricochet yet. I'm cautiously optimistic because I do like the talent he has in the ring. He's got a great look. Obviously, we see what he's capable of doing now when the handcuffs are kind of off from him being in the WWE ecoscape. So there's a lot that you can kind of take from there. Roy J says, that's fair. I'm more into seeing what Ricochet can do in the ring without the same restrictions first. Exactly. I think, hey, I want AEW to wine and dine me with Ricochet. Help me out here. Like, give me a good appetizer with him. That's his in-ring work. Give me the main course, which is more of his in-ring work, but I want like the dessert. I want the ambiance of the restaurant. I want all this stuff when it comes to getting Ricochet, the full experience of Ricochet. Help me out here. And so I want to see that from AEW because, yeah, he's a star. You put a lot of money into him. I think they're doing a very good job when it comes to that with like a Will Ospreay. You know, we're getting the full Will Ospreay experience and then some. We're getting the garnish. We're getting the, you know, unexpected dessert at the end. So it's the AEW has shown they are capable of that. They need to do it a lot more with a lot of their stars and make everybody feel like a big deal, but certainly play to your main core roster that you want. Put the focus on who you want to put the focus on. So certainly balance. Hey, you guys can balance out a little bit of your sports betting when you do the draft pick 6. Download the Pick 6 app on DraftKings and use promo code Rumor. I think all you got to do is put a $5 bet on. You get $250 back to gamble with, to party down with. This week's NFL games are slated up to come up. You can predict what players you think are going to flourish, who's going to have more passing yards. Are they going to have less passing yards than predicted? You pick about 3 different players, then you create a lineup, you place a bet, boom. You can win prizes, you can win cash, all that stuff. Download the Pick 6 app. Do it now. Helps out the podcast. Use promo code Rumor, and then you get $250 in bonus back, I believe. So definitely do that. We appreciate DraftKings. I love doing it. I'll give my predictions later on this week. But yes, take a gander at that. As far as anything else is concerned, we're hearing a lot of stuff swirling around about the AEW TV deal. Where's that going to pan out? When are we going to get an announcement for that? You want that to be elevated to and make AEW feel like a big deal. You know, hopefully they do. Hopefully everything works out with them. I would like to see them cast a wide net when it comes to not just Turner Broadcasting. If they do have a broadcast opportunity with a Fox or something else, get it on there. More eyes on the product, the better. Like seeing that. What else did I want to touch upon too? Obviously, we have Jon Moxley stuff going on. Really kind of losing me with certain aspects of this, just simply because of the Nigel McGuinness thing. Love Nigel McGuinness. Love the Bryan Danielson match. Why the heck Would Darby Allin, why would they do this? It just, that whole thing doesn't make sense. How are they going to follow up on that? Will we get a good follow up? Can they even make a good follow up? You want to see a big payoff with this. Don't want to see the devil storyline again with this Jon Moxley and this ulterior motives kind of thing. But yeah. So guys, that will do it. We'll talk. We'll follow up tomorrow. I will have a guest. Maybe a certain relative of mine might be joining the show. And we'll talk a little bit of the Dynamite. We'll talk a little bit of other stuff going on. Lots to cover in this pro wrestling world right now. Very fun stuff. Kudos to NXT on that little segment that I saw. So really enjoyed this. Shout out to everybody that joined in. Kyle Webster joined in. Interesting. So he gives a different perspective. CM Punk and NXT was sort of lackluster, though, especially with the segment he was in. Just watching that, I disagree. I liked it. It made me more engaged for Roxanne Perez. It made me feel like a lot of these stars felt like bigger deals are to keep tabs on when CM Punk name dropped them. And he name dropped several of them, like Javon Evans and stuff like that. I thought it was a good use of CM Punk. He also, Devon Dallin says, why is this show only 30 minutes every day? I know, right? Got to be careful. Maybe Tony D'Angelo will join us. Hey, I got connections. But Kywin also says, hopefully AW gets more TV deals. All right. Yes. No swearing, guys. Please keep your mouths clean. Let's try to use a little decorum here, especially if you're around fellow wrestling fans. Let's present ourselves in a fine way, right? Let's button up a little bit. Put on some deodorant. I'm not saying you guys don't do that. I'm just leaning into the stereotypes. Put on some deodorant, shave that neck beard, look real spiffy, huh? Why not? I got to do the same too, You got to dot your I's and cross your T's, so to speak. But we'll do that tomorrow too, on Thursday. Rumor and Innuendo. Be sure to check out an upcoming episode of Working Stiff with Robert Carpus and Scott Chaplin. I almost said Scott Damore. I'm all over the place today. So a new episode will be dropping later this week. They'll be covering Dynamite, I'm sure, the Dynamite. And then on top of that, hey, check out One of a Kind with RVD. Go to rvdtv.com. Like, subscribe, share, get the word out. I just posted a clip on social media about RVD talking about his time with Cody Rhodes. There's a clip of that up on rvdtv.com. Really, really fun stuff. Rob, one of my favorite episodes we got to do was this past week. So we dive into a lot of cool stuff. Rob teaches you how to breathe and how Randy Orton breathes. So breathe, and check out rvdtv.com. Also, join me tomorrow on OneTrueSportTV.com and 4HorsemanNetwork.com for a live episode. Oh, no, it won't be tomorrow. It'll be probably Friday. Thankfully, I remember that. Greg Gagne has a little previous obligation he's got to think about. So join me maybe Friday. 4HorsemanNetworkTV.com. Check out all the stuff on, or 4HorsemanNetwork.com. That's all Arn Anderson stuff. All right, guys. We'll chat a little bit more tomorrow on this, right? Okay. Hey, best of luck in your future endeavors. And hey, will Roxanne Perez defeat Julia? CM Punk doesn't think so. See you tomorrow.